Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Dave Alton. I'm going to be presenting a webinar today on why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment. We've got a few people that are joining us, so we're going to let those people funnel in, and then once that happens, we'll kick things off. So does anybody have any questions while we chit-chat here? All right, well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Dave Alton. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Strategic Information Resources. And today we're going to be looking a little bit at why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment. We call that CSRA for short. Rolls off the tongue a little easier than cybersecurity risk assessment does. And so we're going to jump into this and talk about why you need this and what it's for and what you can learn from it. So why are you here? So you're a small business in the Los Angeles area. You want to make sure you're protected against the rising cyber attacks that are on businesses just like yours. You may already have an IT department or somebody that you work with. Maybe you even have cybersecurity insurance, but you're not really sure that that's enough. So what we find when we start talking to new clients and even existing clients is that cybersecurity is a bit of a mystery and nobody really understands what it is or how it works or why you even need it. A lot of people don't even know that you can get specialized insurance just for cybersecurity protections. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of learn what is available. And all of that kind of starts with a cybersecurity risk assessment. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are. So as I said, we're Strategic Information Resources. We make tech work, and communication is the foundation of everything we do. We do everything we can to keep your people protected and your profits secured. And that's done through a whole host of tools and procedures and trainings and learnings that we work with you on as you continue on your cybersecurity journey. We're a bunch of kind of nerds and solutionists that provide a really comprehensive cyber-first approach in everything we do. So if there is any risk, cyber risk, someone, getting a hold of your email accounts, or they might know your username and password, we do everything we can to protect that. And then when things go wrong, because they always do, we have plans and processes in place to kind of correct and get you back on track when something doesn't happen correctly. We have a team of about 20. We're based in the Los Angeles area, but we have clients all over the nation. We have some of our technicians throughout the United States as well. So here's our agenda. So we're gonna talk about what is a cybersecurity risk assessment, why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment now, typical timeframes and what to expect in the process, and then any next steps. During this, I'm going to mainly be presenting. Carla will be keeping an eye on chat if any questions come in, but feel free to drop those in chat. We will have a Q&A at the end, so you'll be able to ask any questions that you want at that point. So what is a cybersecurity risk assessment? So consider a cybersecurity risk assessment as a tool for kind of identifying and addressing any potential vulnerabilities that you may have in your organization. And that's something you need to do on a relatively regular basis, right? So it really helps you prioritize those risks as well. So when you find something that's wrong, or there is some security, vulnerability of some type, we can start to prioritize that and figure out exactly where do we want to focus our attention. Because a lot of times what we'll find is we'll go in and we'll do one of these, and there's a wide swath of things that are either configured incorrectly, or maybe wasn't installed properly, or maybe it didn't have the correct methodology used to set it up. And so a lot of times we'll go in and we'll start with, what exactly is there? And then it really helps you protect your assets, right? We see a lot of financial loss and reputational damage when a cybersecurity event happens. So one of those things is if your business email is compromised in some way, you accidentally give your username and password away, and then that bad actor sits in your email and kind of waits for something to transact between you and your client. And basically what they're doing is they're waiting for you to send them an invoice or something along those lines. And then they go in and they tell your client, "Oh, hey, I'm really sorry, but we've had a banking change. And that banking change requires you to use this bank account number." And what happens a lot is that you don't even know, right, that they've emailed your client, but they look like you. They have your email, they have your address, but they have changed your banking account information to theirs. And so a lot of times those transactions that happen are very, very difficult on business relationships, right? Hey, we paid you and you didn't get paid. And but you sent us this email that was from you because the bad guy was in there. So it can really strain the relationship and have some pretty serious financial consequences. We've worked with clients before to, recapture $250,000 that was basically sent as a payment in a big construction job. And that payment was basically wired to an offshore bank account. And we were able to claw it back, but it's not often that that happens. And at $250,000, a lot of cybersecurity insurance policies don't even cover it. So it's something to be aware of, right? That these things that can happen, they don't seem like it's that big a deal until you're in the middle of it. It really helps comply with regulations. So HIPAA is a pretty is around the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. That one is mainly around health providers and things like that. But FTC Safeguards is one that's really starting to take off in the last, I want to say 2 years, June of last year, really, when the FTC said, "Hey, listen, if you work with other people's money or you transact on their behalf, you must follow these 10 to 15 different safeguards to ensure that your clients are protected. And oh, by the way, if you do have some kind of event that's considered material in breach, then you also have to report that to the FTC, and there are fines as well as other ramifications that need to be dealt with. So those are all things that you, once you have a cybersecurity risk assessment, you can start to understand, what do I need to do to get there? The other thing is it really helps improve efficiency. If you look at how much a breach costs in the total downtime, in reputational loss, and all your team being affected by that, it's really, really hard to not justify the small amount that you need to kind of do these risk assessments, make sure that you're up to date, and that your clients are staying protected as they should. So our framework is really about this. We protect the people, the process, your profits, and the data. And the idea is that the weakest link in a lot of various organizations is the people. And that's not their fault. It generally happens that bad guys are really good at social engineering. They're really, really good at getting you to click on things and enter information that you are not intending to. So what we do is we train your team and your clients. Hey, this is how we interact with you, right? Then we build processes and we protect those processes. And we identify where in those processes there are weaknesses or opportunities for some kind of compromise. We protect the profits by putting technology and various high availability tools in place to keep you and your business running. And then ultimately we protect the data, right? Your company without the data is probably a shell, right? Doesn't have a whole lot. The what you know about your clients and how they work and things like that is really, really crucial and very important to how you actually, interact with those clients and protect that data and keep it safe. So protecting the people. So 90% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. That number, it kind of fluctuates. I've seen it as high as 95%. Right now, I think the current trend is around 93%. But what we find is that people are people struggle to really kind of make sure that they're always doing the right thing. They get distracted, they're moving quickly, and things like that. Um, a good example of this is this Blackbaud case. So Blackbaud is a nonprofit platform that a lot of different nonprofits use, and they basically went in and had a supply chain attack through a business email compromise, and they basically exposed 40 million users to their, you know, to the bad guys through this attack. And it was so egregious and so bad that Blackbaud was fined $49 million by the FTC to remove the data. And they really were really super lax in how they dealt with how they managed data, how they stored data. The FTC says, after 2 years of non-interaction with a client, their data must be destroyed or deleted. So I can't imagine many clients going in and going, oh yeah, I haven't talked to that client in 5 years. I shouldn't have them on my rolls anymore. But the reality is not very many people are hygienic around their data. And it's important that you do those things to protect both yourself and your previous clients from having their data stolen or attacked. And even we, right, we're a technology company. Our CEO is very hip and very up on what exactly to do and how to work, but he got compromised by one of these attacks quite recently. And it was crazy because it was an email that looked like it came from our COO. He clicked on it. He put in his credentials. Nothing happened. He put his credentials in again, but he was doing it all from his phone. So he couldn't see a lot of the stuff that we can see kind of from our email clients. And our tools, locked his account down, did a lot of the right things to protect him when that happened. But ultimately, it is that end user that kind of gets us into trouble to begin with. So it's really, really important that we protect the people and make sure that they're doing things properly. So protecting the processes. So in 2023, cybercrime loss surpassed $12.5 billion. That's on pace to be completely dwarfed. This year, they're talking about a much, much larger number than that, maybe double. Might not be that much, but somewhere in that range. And this is that, the simple, like, hey, I need you to change the bank account information, right? We talked a little bit about how we had a architecture client who was duped into sending $250,000. We luckily were able to help claw that back, along with the bank and the client themselves. It wasn't all on us, because once it's a banking situation, it's the banks are really involved. But we were able to prove certain things and made sure that they were clear on what happened and stuff like that. But they were going to be out that 250,000 if they weren't able to claw that money back. It was just going to be gone and gone forever. Their cybersecurity insurance wouldn't have covered it, mainly because of how it was obtained. And a lot of times it's really, really easy for the bad guys to kind of trick you. And some of the things that happen are like, they really create this sense of urgency and you really have to do this now and stuff like that. So it's really, really important to make sure that you're thinking and slowing down and paying attention to what are these things that are coming in, and asking you for your information. And we help build entire processes around that. One of our kind of known for processes is around banking information. So anytime there's any banking information exchanged through email, it must be verified with a phone call, right? It's a simple process. It doesn't take that much extra time. It's not all that difficult to do, but what it does is it establishes a known process for getting and making sure your financials are maintained and properly protected because you're verifying, hey, that change, hey, did you email me that change? And a lot of times people even call the number that's within the email, and the bad guys have call centers. And these are legit in any other, form of the word, a legit business, right? Yeah, they're transacting cybercrime, but they have help desk and HR and all these things to help them kind of make sure that they're capturing as bad guys your money. And one of the things they have are call centers, and they'll have a number. You call that number. The number is tagged, and they know exactly what it is you're calling about. And you'll say, "Oh yeah, hey, I was just calling to verify that the bank account information had changed." And they'll say, "Oh yeah, we did that. We had whatever story they come up with, and yeah, you should use a new one." But you're not really talking to them, so we always tell people, "Hey, call the contact that you know." Right? Not the number in the email. So again, simple processes. It doesn't take rocket science, but a lot of people miss the simple things, quite honestly. And then we want to protect your profits, right? This is a staggering number, and this number looks like it might be closer to 75% this year, but 60% of small businesses will close within 6 months of a breach. And that's just simply because once you're breached, the costs start adding up extraordinarily fast. We had a one-person business, very small shop, but had a ton of clients, and he was targeted by an identity theft. And that identity theft and all the things that they perpetrated was around $25,000 to $30,000 for us to get just him back up and operating in a safe environment. Plus, there was almost a week and a half of downtime where he couldn't even use a computer. And then all of the reporting and fines that went into it as well. He was approaching around $1 million for a very small, very tiny, music studio. So it's one of those things like you don't realize how much money it is until you're in the thick of it. And let me tell you, 0% was covered by insurance. And that was mainly because he didn't have certain things in place that the insurance companies required for him to be protected by his policy. And it's just crazy. Like these numbers are insane, right? 73% of small businesses had a cybersecurity incident. I would say that number is probably higher, to be honest with you. They didn't report or haven't told anybody. 61% of small businesses have no incident response plan. And the incident response plan is just the plan on, hey, what do we do if we have some kind of incident? How do we manage it? Who do we call? Or do we have to talk to law enforcement? Do we need to call our cyber insurance? Things like that. 83% of organizations experience more than one data breach. So this is the new tactic, right? Bad guy comes in, puts ransomware on a machine. Let's say you have backups and you're all good. Restore from backups. 2 to 3 weeks later, another incident right on the heels of the first one, either because the incident wasn't fully cleaned or the credentials that they have were low-level credentials and could get them into a lot of other things. We see this happen more and more. So once you're on a bad guy's radar, you're kind of on the radar, and they're coming after you. And it won't just be one of them. There's whole gangs of these guys that go out there and do this. And again, like I was saying, this isn't some guy in a hoodie in their basement doing this stuff. I don't know. There might be some of those people, but this is big business now. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars. This is cybercrime at its height, and they are relentless at trying to capture your money. So, and that last number, 7.8 billion lost due to downtime in I can't remember if that was a 2022 statistic or 2023, but I suspect that number is even higher now. So then we want to protect the data. So the data is your gold mine, right? That's where all your information lives and how your business runs and things like that. So one of the things that we find is most records that are stolen during data breaches are personally identifiable. And PII costs companies around, and again, this is an average number and it involves various different types of data, $183 per record stolen. So think about that. Even a small one-person shop, let's say they have 150 clients, right? 150 times $183 doesn't seem like a lot, but that's just for those stolen records. That's not dealing with any of their breach costs. It's not, doesn't deal with notification, doesn't deal with reputational loss. It is just the loss of, hey, you're going to be fined by some regulatory body that record is stolen, especially here in California, where we have some pretty strict privacy laws. So how long does this take? So first we start with a cybersecurity strategy session. And that's a 15 to 20-minute call. That's just to make sure we're in alignment and we're looking at, you're interested in having security, and we want to make sure that we're a good fit for you, right? Then we perform the risk assessment. That risk assessment normally takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Then we schedule and present the findings. And then we'll have some course of action that should be taken upon that. Normally, total, it's around 30 to 60 days to get it done. It can be done faster. We've done it faster, but there's a lot that relies on you as the client to make sure those things are happening. I can tell you we've got incident response plans that are kind of boilerplate and have all the kind of pieces and components in it, but it requires you to kind of be involved, right? You really got to add that stuff in there. So those are the things that really kind of take more time than anything else. So here's the tough thing, right? You may think that your IT department is doing this for you and has you covered, right? Most often we find, and especially in smaller organizations, either you're kind of doing your own IT, or you kind of have somebody, they're sort of, a guy, and they sort of do IT when you need it and type of thing. The problem with that approach is that no longer really works. It really does require an ongoing commitment to make sure that your IT is really, really tight and that you're protected properly, right? Cybersecurity insurance doesn't cover you if you're not 100% accurate on your application. And we find that lots of people answer silly questions from the insurance people. Quite honestly, I think they're built to make it so you don't, or so you won't be covered in the event of an incident. Like they'll ask you, is 2FA on everything? So two-factor authentication, is it turned on for all things? That's kind of impossible, right? There are certain applications and things that don't allow for two-factor authentication. That can't even be done. So when you answer yes to that, it's really yes, but I can't do it on these 5 things, right? Well, that yes, but they don't give you an option for the but. They just say yes or no. And if you answer yes and they find something that was not covered by two-factor authentication, they can deny your claim. So a lot of lingering vulnerabilities also exist in operating systems and applications. Chrome has thousands of vulnerabilities, every year. I think we're up to 463 so far this year in Chrome alone. And then, you have to follow these processes that the insurance companies require you to do. And if you don't, then what happens is they, don't pay your claim. So where do you go from here? So a lot of people try and do this themselves, and it can be done. It's not impossible. It's not rocket science. There's a lot of information on the web. ChatGPT is your friend, and you can kind of DIY this. We find most people take months and months to really kind of get at what they need to, and it really does take a lot of time to be up to date on what's out there, what's available, what you can and can't do, and things like that. And so we typically will see a client may have started some of this, but they struggle with getting to that next step and fully protected. And that oftentimes can cost you, right? Because the bad guys aren't waiting around. They're jumping in and doing it. Or you can partner with, a qualified team of professionals. We happen to be one of those qualified team of professionals, and we have a very comprehensive cybersecurity driven technology service that ensures your growth and operation and sustainability, uh, but also takes into account budgets and things like that. So we find ways to make this work with most clients and organizations that are serious about doing security and doing it well. And then, so what we would want you to do at this point is really kind of just book your strategy session, right? Give us a call. This link here that was popped in chat will take you to my calendar, and we can jump on a call and walk through this. We can talk about what insurance you have in place, when the last review was, and any pain points that you have around technology. We aren't just cybersecurity professionals. We don't just do cybersecurity. We handle all of your IT needs, whether that be Office 365, hardening, or procurement of devices, or making sure that your printers work and your passwords are safe and things like that. So we can help you with any of those kind of areas that might need IT help. So I want to give you two really, really key takeaways here. And that's one, turn 2FA on for everyone and everything in your organization and in your personal life. Look, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those have a two-factor authentication add-on that you can put onto your device or have them text you or something along those lines. Protect your data, both your organizational data and your personal data. And the easiest way to do that is turning 2FA on. And then I can't stress this enough, verify any financial changes. It's a super easy, simple process, doesn't take a lot of time, and it makes sure that everything is in order. And look, it's an opportunity to also talk to your clients. If something really does need to change in the financial area, call them, have a conversation, let them know what's happening. I love email as much as the next guy, but it's so easy to compromise email these days. And we would really love for people to not be giving money away to bad guys that they can't get back. So what's the next step? Don't wait. Jump on this. Our calendar fills up really quick after one of these. We do have availability coming up in a short order, and we would love to have you as a client and help you with whatever you need as far as your technology needs go. I want to thank everyone who came. Really appreciate it. And we are going to stop the recording, and we will jump into some Q&A. All right. I think we're good to go. So if you want to come off mute and ask, happy to answer any questions that you may have. Yeah, or I don't know if anything was popped into chat. So one of the questions that came up in chat is, what can be done regarding thieves stealing your cell phone number? I think they call it porting a number. Yeah, so there are a bunch of different things. So first and foremost, call Verizon, AT&T, whoever your carrier is, and tell them you want to put a security pin for any changes that you have to your cellular account. That makes it harder, not impossible, but a lot harder to make those changes. And really what you want to protect against is what they call eSIM stealing. And so what they do is they clone your phone. And so your phone still works exactly the same, but they've called up and said, hey, I lost my SIM, or my phone was damaged and I got a new phone. Can you ship me a SIM for my account? And they send that SIM to the bad guy, and then they have a phone that is able to replicate text messages and things like that. So they can see that. That's also why we tell people use a authentication app instead of text messages. Authentication apps are much, much more difficult to circumvent some of the tooling behind them. So a bad guy, while they may be able to clone your phone number and get your get your texts, they're not going to be able to get your apps, right, without you signing in. So that's always a good approach. Put that pin on your account, and then if there are any changes to your account, they normally ask you of for that pin. Authenticator apps, Microsoft makes one, Google makes one. There a lot of password managers also have authenticator apps in them, and these are two-factor authentication apps. Typically, they give you a 6-digit code. Sometimes it's 8, depends on what it is. We normally have people use a program from Cisco called Duo. It's more geared toward business. I wouldn't necessarily think of it as a kind of in personal use, but Google Authenticator is quite good. Microsoft has an authenticator as well that's also quite good. And then like I said, there's a few password managers that also have authentication apps that you can utilize. All right, well, we will let everyone get back to their day. Really appreciated everyone being here, and thanks for the great questions. Looking forward to having you have a CSRA with us. Have a great one, everyone.